Hi, welcome to AQA GCSE English Language Paper 2, Question 3. By the end of this presentation, you should know what's required for Paper 2, Question 3, be able to pick out specific and correct quotations in response to the question, be able to state what the quotations mean, to name literary and persuasive techniques, and explain the effect of the chosen quotations on the reader. This is a language question. So question 3 reads, how does the writer use language to convey her attitude to the environmental impact of consumer consumption? Which are the important words in that question? You're only writing about the environmental impact of consumer consumption. Make sure you use the right part of the text and write the correct amount. Remember, it's 4 marks per paragraph approximately, so you should address 3 issues and write 3 paragraphs. Petal style. There are a couple of ways of remembering how to do this question. We have petals, point, evidence, which means quotation, technique, and analysis, which is the same as explanation. You can also add a link or summary to that paragraph, or you could remember it by remembering Peter, point, evidence, which means quotation, technique, and effect on the reader. However you remember the method, it's the same method, and you're increasing the detail by adding your techniques into question 3. As we mentioned earlier, the writer of Source B is very concerned about environmental problems, including global warming, which we all know is caused by consumerism, production, and transporting goods around. She goes on to say that scientific studies have shown that consumption dwarfs population as a main environmental threat on Earth, although she doesn't actually back that up with statistics. She asks a rhetorical question here: is it making anybody happy, this consumerism? And notes the hypocrisy of people who complain about the loss of species but do not curb their consumerism, buying goods. Note here there is some alliteration, lament the loss. She says that there's a disconnection about the causation of these events and people's understanding, and that she thinks clearly that capitalism or consumerism is going to be the death of us. She mentions a perfect storm and the fact that the problem is very, very urgent. Let's have a cutesy cultural norm of a festive season. Here we have some alliteration, but we also have sarcasm, talking about people's attitude to Christmas and the fact that it is actually so dangerous. But they want to support the economy, and the unequal wealth generated from it needs to be distributed to the usual suspects. So she's very suspicious of those in authority and business who receive the money that we spend. Here she uses repetition to highlight her view about consumerism, the fact that everything we do leads to growth, which many consider more important than safety. So there's a lot of material to work with, plenty of ideas, lots of techniques and examples. Which do you think are the most important things that we could pick out? So I think these are the 4 most important ideas, but don't forget this is a language question. So each of these ideas needs to be backed up by an example quotation mentioning the technique and analysing the effect on the reader using the petal system. The author points out the danger of the high level of consumerism to our safety, as it causes climate change, and she refers to scientific studies, although she doesn't quote them. This statement starts with a signpost word, firstly. Try and use these if you can, as it helps to guide the reader through your work. The point is shown in purple and the technique is shown in grey. The evidence, i.e. quotes, are shown in green, and the analysis is shown in blue. I've added an extra element to the analysis to give more detail and to show a greater level of depth to my analysis. This will hopefully lift my marks up. Moving on to her next point, the author considers whether buying goods at Christmas actually makes people content, given the destruction it causes to the environment. So we can use the quotations, which are 4 rhetorical questions on lines 26 to 29, which include some sarcasm, deeply delighted, and plastic glory. As before, I've added 2 elements of analysis. The first is the basic level of analysis, which states that the technique prompts the reader to think about their own purchasing habits and to consider whether gifts are improving the Christmas experience. And then some further analysis about some of the words that she uses, the adjective rational about people who are otherwise concerned about species and inequality, as a contrast to what they do at Christmas time. This is the third and final paragraph of your answer. As you can see, I've mixed up the technique, evidence and analysis somewhat together. It doesn't matter which order you use them, as long as they're all in there. And again, I've used 2 chunks of analysis on slightly different aspects of this particular topic, which is her scepticism about people's reasons for buying goods at Christmas and about the economic system behind it and who profits. So I've mentioned sarcasm and inclusive language, repetition, the list of 3, and the ideas that she doesn't trust the people who make the profits and that she views them as criminals. Let's look at the full answer. Firstly, the author points out the danger of the high level of consumerism to our safety, as it causes climate change, and she refers to scientific studies. She uses a semantic field of unsettling adjectives, nouns and verbs, such as the verb burning, the noun phrase environmental threat, the adjective urgent, and the nouns storm and death. The semantic field of danger shown by these verbs prompt the reader into recognising the peril that may lay ahead for the human race. She uses the noun storm to show both the literal weather caused by the consumerism and as imagery of the danger of the future. In addition, the author questions whether buying goods makes people content, given the destruction it causes to the environment. The author uses 4 rhetorical questions between lines 26 to 29. These include alliteration, deeply delighted, and plastic glory, which are both sarcasm. This technique prompts the reader to think about their own purchasing habits and to consider whether gifts are in fact improving the Christmas experience. She adds the adjective rational about people who are otherwise concerned about species and inequality as a contrast to their behaviour at Christmas. Lastly, she's sceptical about people's reasons for buying goods at Christmas and about the economic system behind it and who profits. She sarcastically states, "Let's all have a cutesy cultural norm of a festive season," mocking her audience and using the inclusive language let's. She views commercial profits as the noun phrase unequal wealth, and that only the ones to profit are the usual suspects. This shows that she views the commercial system as unbalanced and corrupt, and those who promote it as criminals. She emphasises this using repetition of growth as a list of three, which is a powerful end to this idea. Well done, you've finished the walkthrough for AQA GCSE English Language, Paper 2, Question 3. Take a break and then try Question 4.